I want to talk about the human cost of these deportations for 1 second. And if you happen to be MAGA or right-wing and this ended up on your feed, I'm going to ask that you set aside the fact that, like, I'm a liberal lady and you just hate me by default. I'm just going to ask you to listen. Just for 1 second. I would ask you to open your ears to what I'm going to say. And this is just one story. It's not all the stories, but it's what I experienced yesterday. I went down for this interfaith vigil family walk to support immigrant families in our city. I posted about it yesterday, but I want to talk about something that happened I didn't post about, which was that when we were still at the initial part where we were listening to faith leaders speak, there was one faith leader who asked us to take a second and turn and talk to someone we didn't know who was standing near us. And so I did. I turned and I found myself standing next to a mom with her 2 kids. She was Latina. The kids were Latina. One of them was 14 years old. One of them was 6, I found out. So we started talking. Oh, and we were supposed to find out a little bit about them, their names, where they worshiped, and then where they need healing, right? So we talked about where I don't worship, but where they worship, what church they went to, and all that. And then it was awkward, but I was like, okay, there's still time. So, where do you need healing? And the mom looked at the 14-year-old. And then she said, you can answer first, sweetie. And the 14-year-old looked at me and she just said, well, with the anxiety. And I can't describe to you. So I have a 15-year-old and I know what it looks like when a teenager is trying not to cry. I know what it looks like when a teenager is trying to look tough and strong when inside they are breaking down. And this child looked terrified. The mom started crying. The little girl was looking up at her sister and her mom and sort of trying to figure out what was going on. I just said, I'm so sorry. We're going to keep doing this until this stops. And we all sort of said goodbye. And then I turned around to my husband and just broke down, like sobbing. If you are someone who supports these policies, I am going to tell you that you should come here. I challenge you to come here and talk to any child who is terrified due to these policies. Look them in the eyes. Look at the fear they are living 24/7 every day, and tell me you still support it. If you do, you have truly, truly lost your humanity. Otherwise, if you say that you care about kids, care about these fucking kids. This is a horror show, and it's got to stop. Thank you.
I have a question about immigration and the border and immigrants, illegal, whatever. Why are you so worried about it? Seriously, like really think about it. Why are you so concerned? Is it a burden on your life? What are they doing to you? Why are you so up in arms about it? And before you say, well, they're a burden to the economy. No, they're not. Them being here is highly beneficial across multiple subjects. Look it up. It's not that difficult. They pay taxes. Is it the crime? No, because you've looked that up, right? And you know that they're no different than us. We commit crimes, right? So you can't use that. So what is it? Seriously, really think about it. Don't say they're taking our jobs, because they're not. What they're doing is they're coming in here and they're doing the jobs that we won't do for the price that pays to do those jobs. And that feeds right back into the economy. Plain and simple. Look it up. All this stuff you can find it anywhere. Look it up. And don't say, well, they're violent. They're violent right now because ICE is kidnapping their friends and family. Period. Masked men are kidnapping immigrants. Point blank. I would be up in arms also, as would you, I would hope. And before you say, well, they broke the law and they're here illegally. You've never broken the law? Never? Never once? Nothing? You've never broken any law? What's the difference between the small laws or the laws you've broken and the laws they're breaking? Nothing. Nothing. It's just, that's where you say, oh, they're immigrants and they're breaking the law and they need to get out of here. It makes no sense because if you look it up, they are not affecting you at all. So explain it to me. Hop in my comments and let me know because I'm confused. 1,000%. Let me know how immigrants are hurting your life in my comments. Y'all take care of yourself. Love you.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, black people. I hope you're faring well where you are, and if you ain't faring well, please fare well where you are. You see, two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs will never make a right. And also, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Who wants to live in a blind world? A world where you can stumble even on a lake and drown. You can go off your building and crush your bones. No one wants to live in such a land of the blind. But also in this land of the blind, the one-eyed man is always the king. Yes. Everyone is blind, but there's someone who is having one eye working. That man is a king, at least with the single eye. He is able to see a number of things that the others might not see. You understand? The same thing is likened to the situation of black people in America. The situation of black people in America is likened by that. The black people saw Trump for who he was at first, and they believed him. When Trump was elected into power, first, he erected the wall to separate Mexicans from entering the USA. No any other president had ever done that. It's not that they didn't have the capacity to do so. They had more than the capacity to do so, but they chose not to. Sometimes you don't go too extreme with the laws because the laws are meant to be enacted on humans. Sometimes the net catches the big fish and the small fish. You don't really need a small fish, so there's no need to cast the net anyways. So white people, some of white people who are in support of Trump and black people want them, they didn't listen. So some of these, actually many of them, are now complaining. You know, it's a breaking news. They are complaining and they are regretting. Sadly, they are regretting not listening to the black people and heeding to their own desires. They desire to vote Trump. They believed the lies Trump told them. Right? Making America great again was going to come with a cost. And the cost is what they are experiencing right now. I want us to listen to some of the complaints these people are making and how they are now regretting not listening to the black people, the one-eyed man who is living in the land of the blind. Yes, I liken the black people to that. Now let's dive into this video and listen up.
I want to understand that Donald Trump is not some brilliant political strategist. Donald Trump doesn't know what he's signing when an EO is in front of his face on his desk. He doesn't speak in complete sentences. This man is not curating the chaos that we're seeing. He's just the instrument that I think is being used to do so. And I think that the reason all of this happened is because he wanted to avoid going to prison for his 34 felonies, and other entities which saw an opportunity and have either really been wanting to get into the White House for decades or just saw an opening and an opportunity to get some great government contracts. Those people all came together and said, let's make this happen. And I think it's all going to come out. And these are my opinion. And it's all so interconnected and disgusting. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get to all of it, but let's start with the Heritage Foundation, which has been seeding shit since the Reagan era, trying to get into the White House since the Reagan era. And they have republished Project 2025 time and time and time again under different names, obviously not 2025. And they've been trying to get a president to see it done. And that hasn't happened until now. Donald Trump may have said that he didn't know about Project 2025 or the Heritage Foundation, but a significant proportion of the EOs that he assigned are exactly aligned with the goals and the aim, like the individual aims of Project 2025. And he's also appointed several Heritage Foundation people to like positions of power. So that's part one. Then we have Palantir and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is the founder of Palantir. Peter Thiel is also the primary mentor of JD Vance for like ever. And Palantir is like an AI surveillance system that had a contract in Israel. It was used in Israel so that they could target people easier. And now it's being used by ICE. And now at the same time, we're having legislation come up that's like basically legalizing a bunch of AI stuff, and everyone is like supporting AI, even though previously there was a lot of, we got to really like walk a fine line here about what's going to be okay about AI and what's not. But now everyone is like, oh, it's okay, because like now Palantir has this contract with ICE, and like we shouldn't be surveilled. Like, and the don't tread on me people are being really fucking quiet for a body of people who are so anti being like spied on, who are so, I need my gun so that I can defend myself against a tyrannical government. And now they're supporting the tyrannical government, and they're like down to be spied on by Palantir. But I think it's because like they think all of this is like Trump's doing, and he has such a loyal fucking fan base that like, I think choosing Trump to be the person to make all of this happen was so strategic for so many reasons. Obviously, Trump was going to be down for whatever if it kept him out of prison. And also, he has such a loyal following that, like, A, it would maybe be kind of believable if he won the election. And B, if he won or didn't win, like, whatever, his MAGA people were going to come unfucking screwed, just like they did last time if he lost, right? Especially because he was going up against a black woman, because these people are crazy and racist and bigoted and misogynistic and all of the above. Anyway, right. So that's some of the Peter Thiel and Palantir of it all. Then we have Elon Musk, who obviously is getting government contracts out the ass. This man, I swear to God, like thought he was going to do this and like take over the world, because he was going to have X, the big social media platform, and he was going to have Starlink, which was going to be the internet, and he was going to have SpaceX replace NASA, and something replace the FAA, and all the cars and military vehicles are going to be Tesla and electric. And I really think he thought like, okay, I'm going to contribute to this in whatever ways I can, technologically, financially, and then I'm going to get all these contracts out of it. So I think all of these entities came together behind the scenes, and I think that they said, Trump, we're going to get you in office. We're going to win this election for you by fraudulent election things. I don't care. Like, I think we've all been too afraid to actually say that as much as it should be being said, because we didn't want to sound like asshole hypocrites after being so pressed about January 6th and the election deniers of 2020. But we should be pressed about January 6th. And the election deniers of 2020 had no basis for their belief other than they just were unhappy with the results, right? So this is very different. And with what's coming out of Rockland County, for those who are unaware, in Rockland County, New York, discovery has been allowed by a judge. So now they're going to do a hand recount. But what prompted this was their discovery that in a county that went blue in the Senate race, supposedly there were 0 votes for Kamala Harris. 0. Not 0.1%, 0 votes, which is like statistically impossible. I would say it's so statistically improbable that it is, I feel comfortable saying it's statistically impossible, right? Also, him sweeping the swing states was so statistically improbable that that should have been a waving red flag from the get-go. And I think it was, but again, I think we were all like too afraid of like rocking the boat after spending forever like being like, you guys are fucking idiots for denying the election results. Like get over it. And now what's going on in Pennsylvania with the failure of the voting systems. There's so much that's finally being like really investigated. And I think it's the beginning of the end. And I do think that that's why all of this chaos is ensuing. But it's not Trump that is the mastermind. It's not Trump that's like, we're gonna call in the National Guard just so that I can declare martial law. Like, he is not pulling the strings. Like, he is not the brains behind this operation. He is, unfortunately, and I think it's like a lot scarier that this is the case. I think unfortunately he is being puppeteered by people who are much more intelligent and have a big, long, fucking scary plan, and who are much more evil. Peter Thiel literally doesn't think women should have the right to vote. He has said it time and time and time again. And now we have the SAVE Act, which just passed the House, and I think it's still in the Senate. But the SAVE Act basically makes it really difficult for married women to vote because you have to have an ID and a birth certificate that match. It also makes it really hard for immigrants. It makes it hard for a lot of people, but women in particular. It's just, and the fact that all of this stuff that's happening right now is related to ICE and immigration, and there's the Palantir piece of everything that's going on. It's so interconnected, and I feel like it's so obvious. It's like once you see the light, it's like red pill shit. Like you just can't unsee it. And the more you think about it, the more you see connections with all of this stuff. And again, like this kind of conspiracy is just what I think is happening. But the facts are the pieces that are like what's going on in Rockland County and Pennsylvania, et cetera. And I think also the facts are Peter Thiel is JD Vance's like primary mentor, and he doesn't think women should vote. The Heritage Foundation has been trying to get in the White House since the Reagan era. And now all of a sudden, all the EOs are exactly aligned with Project 2025. It's so obvious. And I think that California, Los Angeles, what's going on over there is like ground zero. I think it is where they are exercising their plan to see what they can get away with, going over the governor's head. I don't know if they're using Palantir or not, but I would imagine that they probably are, since it's been reported that ICE is either using it or is going to use it. And then Elon, we all know, like got all of his government contracts already. But then when they had their big blow up breakup, he maybe was going to lose them, but now he's like apologizing. It's so childish. It's a bunch of like evil toddler men are running this country / the world, and it's repulsive. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because I think it is so scary. I think it's scarier that it's not Trump. And I think it's extra scary because all these MAGA people are in support of what's happening, even though it's not aligned with their fundamental beliefs at all. I don't even know if they know what those things are. Like, I don't know how well informed people are on why they believe what they believe, to be honest. And I think that the fact that they're supporting this because they think Trump's doing it, when I think Trump is just a puppet, because these other people Trojan horsed their way into the White House, and that they're secretly getting to operate behind the scenes and make shit happen that aligns with their agenda, corporate agenda, evil, fucking crazy white Christian nationalist agenda. It's crazy.
He is so stupid. Why did he do that? I don't agree to use the military.
Breaking news. General Mark just refused to carry out Trump's order. Multiple sources confirm Trump personally pressured General Mark to deploy active duty troops into Los Angeles, Chicago, and other so-called sanctuary cities for sweeping military-style raids. If that order had gone through, America would have witnessed something unprecedented in peacetime. Soldiers stationed at elementary school gates, checking children's IDs, military vehicles surrounding immigrant families' homes in the dead of night, everyday neighborhoods turned into militarized lockdown zones, all because someone doesn't look American enough. But this time, someone stood in the way. Since the Militia Act of 1878, the U.S. has had a hard rule. The military cannot be used against its own people. This week, a general stood up and defended that line for all of us. Whatever your political views, one thing is clear. When soldiers refuse unlawful orders, they're not betraying their country. They're protecting all of us from being dragged into a war mindset. They are the last line of defense for American democracy. When a president tries to overstep, does the military have a duty to say no? If that day ever comes, do you want our soldiers to obey unchecked power or to defend democracy itself? Comment below, because what happens next defines what kind of country we really are.
Alert. Confirmed ICE raids today, June 17th, 2025 in Fayetteville, Arkansas, off of Martin Luther King Boulevard in Weddington. As you can see here, here's one of the ICE agents. His bulletproof vest says police and his face is fully covered. Here is a scene in Fayetteville, Arkansas today off of Martin Luther King exit in Weddington of a man being detained by one of these masked men. This is a statement by the mayor, Molly Ron, in Fayetteville that said at 9 a.m., FPD received a request for assistance from an Arkansas State Police related to a traffic stop near I-49 and exit 64. Fayetteville Police Sergeant responded to the scene and observed both Arkansas State Police and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel present. FPD, Fayetteville Police, had no further involvement in the investigation and left the scene. FPD does not participate in civil immigration enforcement violations. So going off of that, I have a question. This masked dude, his bulletproof vest says police. Fayetteville Police Department said it wasn't them, it was Border and Immigrations. Why does this say police if he's not one of our police? And what jurisdiction does he have here? How could we know? Because he has a mask and no identification on. As a U.S. citizen who believes in one, due process, that everybody should have a right to a hearing, to an attorney, and two, that we should be arrested and detained by people who have their face showing and identification showing, no question. I am outraged and I am terrified and I am scared. If there's no need for identification and you can just detain people with no warrant, are any of us safe? Truly, are any of us safe? Right now is the time to use our voice. Right now is the time to demand change. Right now is the time to say we demand as American citizens and people in our country that we have due process. We demand that people detaining people in our country have identification and show their faces. And we demand that people in our country and in Fayetteville, Arkansas, that are detained are traceable. Their families should be able to find them, and we should be able to know where they're at and if they're safe.
You watch out. That was necessary. It was not necessary. It was not necessary. You know that. You know that. It's not necessary. You just wanted to do that for yourself. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? What are you speaking?
We'll do one more question.
Sure. Just another thing. Do you think that the administration has been too aggressive with the deportation efforts? Like, are non-criminals getting caught up in the dragnet as well?
No, look, I don't think that we've been too aggressive at all. I mean, first of all, any time that a mistake has been made, we correct that mistake very quickly. But the unfortunate reality is that Joe Biden let in 15 to 20 million illegal aliens into this country, and there is no way for us to actually get those unlawful, illegal immigrants out of the United States of America without some serious law enforcement.
These protests in LA, they're not doing shit. It's just a bunch of Latinos that rather than educate themselves and figure out a way to make a real movement, go and give them a reason to round more people up, to throw more people in jail, and to make even more stringent laws against things like this. Everything but take fucking accountability and actually learn something of how the system in America works. They're just going to deport more people. The ICE raids are going to continue. A lot of people are going to jail. You should just pick up a book and get educated. Find your representatives in your state or county and message them. Anything but get educated. Anything but learn what you can actually do. The dumbest thing you could do is feel pride for going to a fucking rally that did nothing but bring the Coast Guard. Now the Coast Guard is there and they're gonna use them to round people up. And where are you? How are you gonna stop that? You can't. You're in jail. Latinos are doing everything except helping people in Mexico or
If the military's loyalty were to lie with the president rather than the Constitution or its precedents, if U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement kidnapped and broke into houses without warrants, if mothers and fathers were being dragged from their homes and branded as criminals, their children left alone, if migrants were denied due process and human dignity, I wonder who I would be. If it was 1947 and Senator McCarthy spearheaded a campaign against the Communist Party, but thousands of civilians were detained without warrants based on general suspicion, would I think it was abhorrent? Or if I lived in Salem in 1692 and the clergymen hung the wrongly accused, would I yell witch with the rest of the colony? I wonder who I would be. Had I been alive in the Second World War when there was fear of espionage on American shores and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president, incarcerated anyone of Japanese descent and sent these American residents to internment camps, searched their homes seizing what they considered contraband, froze their assets, branded them detainees, I wonder who I would be. If I lived in Birmingham in 1963 and there were protests against segregation policies, would I raise my voice, would I rise to my feet, or would I cross to the the other side of the street? Or if I was in Washington that very same year and there was a national march, would I appear? Or would I think, oh well, that doesn't affect me? I wonder who I would be. If I was at Stonewall on June 28th, would I resist? Would I enlist? Would I run the other way if police raided bars because two women were dancing? Or beat two men for loving, for romancing? If I saw a trans woman being arrested simply because she was wearing a dress, would I say something? Would I pretend I didn't see? I wonder who I would be. If it was 1830 and Andrew Jackson had a one-track mind towards Western expansion and forced 60,000 indigenous Americans to leave home and face an unfathomable despair when 4,000 lost their lives on the Trail of Tears in the name of colonizing Western frontiers, I wonder if Jackson lost a single night of sleep, and I wonder who I would be. If there were rallies being held and everyone had signs that said mass deportation, if these people subscribed to the idea of God's country that would be made great again, I guess I say I hadn't realized God was an American. But I remember something about loving your neighbor, and there was something else in those biblical papers, something about everyone being equal in the eyes of thee. Now I wonder who I would be if the military's loyalty were to lie with the president rather than the Constitution or its precedents, if U.S. immigrations and customs enforcement kidnapped and broke into houses without warrants, if mothers and fathers were being dragged from their homes and branded as criminals, their children left alone, if migrants were denied due process and human dignity, I wonder who I would be. I wonder who I would be. I wonder.
We're seeing these really big protests, Mr. Homan, which I know you've seen. We've seen people go on the streets to voice their concerns about this. And I think what they are trying to communicate is that they don't want this. And I wonder what you say to that, to those protesters.
I would ask them, what laws do you not want DEA to enforce? What laws do you want FBI not to enforce? What law do you ask your local police department to enforce? We don't pick and choose what we enforce. We're here to enforce the law. Again, if you don't like it, have Congress change the law. Illegal immigration is not the answer because, again, people don't understand there's a whole ugly underbelly of illegal immigration. I've done this since 1984.
Right.
I've stood on back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead aliens who baked to death, including a 5-year-old little boy. I have seen babies getting CPR in the river. I've seen babies floating in the river. I've seen enough dead children, enough dead aliens in my career that it's created the person you're talking to today. I wish people could wear my shoes for the last 40 years and see what I've seen, and they would agree with me. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime, and there's a right way and wrong way to do this. A secure border saves lives.
I got one thing to say. I don't give what you think, man. Fuck anybody who believes in ICE, Trump administration, all this shit that's going on. Let me tell you something. The people who built this country are mostly brown people, all right? They come from other countries and they try to help, build this country so they can get money to send home to their fucking families. But look, you see this fucking job I'm on? I'm on a 440,000 square foot fucking building. It's fucking 3:30 in the afternoon. Usually people are going home at 8 o'clock in the fucking evening. And look, it's a fucking ghost town around here. All right? It's a fucking ghost town. And why? Because fucking federal agents just raided the fucking building next door and they got wind of it. And these people, they can't even be on this job site without having the proper paperwork to be on this job site because our company abides by the rules, right? But no, they're fucking picking them up. They're throwing them in paddy wagons and saying, prove your citizenship. But that takes months and months and fucking months, all right? I'm fucking hot. 2 of my guys are gone because they're fucking like, I'm not going to deal with that. They'd rather be home with their families, safe and sound, than to have ICE agents come and fuck with them. So I'm creating a new fucking thing. I'm going to call it FIRE, man. Fuck ICE. FIRE. Fuck immigration regulation enforcers. Fuck you guys. This is bullshit. And you fucking know it. Oh, they took our jobs. They took our jobs. All right, you little white boy.
During an immigration raid on June 10th at Glen Valley Foods, a meatpacking plant in Omaha, Nebraska, ICE detained 76 illegal aliens, approximately 50% of the company's employees. What's the company supposed to do now? Well, according to NBC News, American citizens and others who are in the country legally began applying for meatpacking and food processing jobs at the plant just 2 days after the raid, filling every seat in the waiting area. How can that be? Didn't these Americans and other legal applicants get the memo from sleazy immigration lawyers that jobs like this are only suitable for illegal aliens? Or maybe they got the memo and threw it in the trash, where it belongs. By the way, in fairness to Glen Valley Foods, it was reportedly using E-Verify to verify that its employees were not illegal aliens, and the system failed miserably, obviously. I'm not sure if the illegals were using fake Social Security cards or other ID, but E-Verify clearly isn't nearly as good as it needs to be nationwide. I'm Joseph Bovino, U.S. immigration and business attorney based in Miami and serving clients worldwide who can help make America even greater than it already is. Let me know what you think about this story, which you probably didn't hear about in the legacy media, in the comments below. Use the link in my bio if you'd like to schedule a consultation and follow.
How do I feel about deportation? And I will say I do have some mixed views. However, with all my years of experience in recruiting or serving as a soldier in some kind of recruiting capacity, nearly 20 years, I have ran into many high school students who have the desire to serve but lack the citizenship status and are undocumented. And the only thing I can think of is, imagine being brought here as an infant or as a very young child. You are told your whole life to stay out of trouble, do good things, get good grades, go to college or go to the military. And you do all of those things. And some of these kids that I've talked to and that I'm referring to are in the top 10% of their class. They reach that level. And when it's time for them to do something great, they have all their dreams stripped from them because they're just undocumented. And I think that's a very horrible feeling for me to witness, and that has to be a very horrible feeling for them as well. There has to be something that we can do. I understand having undocumented citizens may cause some issues, but let's take care of the kids at least. They are the ones that need us.
How can you look undocumented? How can you detain someone because they look undocumented? ICE is going for the easy grabs to meet quotas. They're not going for criminals. They're literally using their resources to catch everybody that they can up in a net to fulfill Stephen Miller's quotas. See, it's a lot easier to get people who don't know how to evade the law, who are just going about their daily lives, because to actually get criminals, you have to do actual real research and reconnaissance and investigation.
Now, you can clearly tell that these women or these Latinas are so much disappointed in themselves, you know, and them saying that they won't forgive black people is just an expression of their of their regret, an expression of their disappointment, because they really put their best odds on Trump. And Trump, as trampled their odds, they banked on him, they counted on him, but Trump has really not lived up to his promises. Which brings again the idea, a politician is not your friend. A politician is someone who's playing chess. You know, they play the moves they want you to, you see? Even if you see them supporting you, they do that temporarily at the moment. And that at that time, it benefits them, right? It benefits them at that specific time. So I'm back here and I'm looking at the Latinas. I'm looking at the Mexicans. I'm looking at the Hispanics. I'm looking at the Asian communities, you see, and the black people. All these people are marginalized communities. All these people are people with whom America does not consider them as equal as it considers the white America. And when I make these statements, I'm making these statements in place of love, in place of education, in place of being taught what to do right, how to live within the society. But you find that even though we are in a marginalized community, or we are in a marginalized setup, some of these communities are trying to push others out of the country. Or it's as if there's less food, and you kicking out people will make you have the chance to eat. It's like jungle. You know what happens in the jungle? The strong ones survive, the weak organisms perish. So it has been said, and we've seen videos where Latinas openly insult black people. They call them the N-word. You know, the N-word is an equivalent of calling a person a slave, a black person a slave. That is what it means. It is okay if we call ourselves, but it's not okay if you yourself, who is an unblack, calls a black person, right? We share struggles. We share struggles as black people. We share struggles as marginalized community. So there's no point of wanting to kick away someone, because that is what I see. That is what I see from this video. These women's complaints hold no waters. They hold no ground. They don't have a firm foundation. She does not have enough reason for her to say that we will regret, right? And that they'll never forgive us. There's no firm ground. We can also say that when they were calling us and when they were snitching on us, videos are out there, what they do. But once we realize we are the human race, that is what counts. We should come together, work together, and do things together as the human race. That is really what counts in the end. Yes. No one is more special than the other. Even if you are a Latino and you have a skin like that of a snow, no one is really up, or no one is special than the other. Yes. These are my thoughts. Share your thoughts. I'd really like to hear from you, you know. Share your thoughts, and then we shall talk in another discussion. Yes. Thanks for watching. This is EFK Original Documentaries. See you in the next one.